are grateful to our sponsors, Kelly Stafford with Stafford Tree Service and also Black Cow Cow Manure. If you need your trees trimmed locally, remember Stafford Tree Service at staffordtreesvc.com. And please visit Black Cow Cow Manure, that's K-O-W. Remember, both of the contact details are in the description below. Hi, I'm Stan DeFreitas for the Ask Mr. Greenthumb Gardening Segments. Royal Rosemary, as it sometimes has been called, is a staple in the herb garden. Now this one will grow in full sun to partial shade. It really is nice for dips, it's nice for salads. It can be used in many different ways, and it's easy to propagate. Normally I would use some into a good soil. I would probably use some endobutyric acid or rutone, but you might take a nice cutting that's getting a little bit tall and just kind of come in here and cut it like we just did. Cut off that little top piece, and if you want, you can start it in something like a little vial of water. Now you could put it in, I would usually use it directly into a soil mixture. You mentioned that we use the alcohol to clean our little cutters because there again, we don't want to be the spreader of disease. This tended to be a little bit dry when I got it from the nursery, so we really made sure that we watered it well. The rosemary can stay on the dry side. Remember, it's a Mediterranean type plant, and it's a second cousin of basil and other members. Thyme is another second cousin, but it of course has its own fragrance, its own beauty, and I think it's a little bit tougher than, let's say, basil. Basil tends to always die out in a season. I've kept some rosemary for a couple of years, unless you just get a really hard, freaky freeze, and even then it normally comes back out. If it gets way dry, it could have a problem, it could die. If it gets super wet, where we have like a monsoon and it sits in water, it also could die. It can have some root rot problems. But in general, rosemary is one of those kind of rougher, tougher herbs. And you can just see it seems sturdier than some of the herb plants that you may have grown in the past. I would improve the soil, as we say almost every week. I'd add the peat, I'd add the cow, I'd really improve the soil to have good results. Remember, about 6 to 8 hours of bright sun a day to build enough photosynthetic factory here for it to do well. And unlike a tree, if you cut it off, it will tend to heal itself. But let me tell you, as a horticulturist, which means I know what arborists know, but we know a few things more. We know about herbs, we know about flowering plants, and I'm proud to be an arborist, but I'm also proud to be a horticulturist because my width of knowledge is broader because there are so many more plants than just trees. I would probably fertilize this about at least a couple of times during the growing season. It's not a real heavy feeder, but I would make sure it had enough good nitrogen, enough phosphorus and potassium so that you can expound on the growth. Remember, the photosynthetic factory needs that bright light, and it needs an adequate supply of water. If the soil's real dry, you might want to add some mulch around the base just to hold some extra moisture. Rosemary is one that you ought to be trying, and it's one that we've been growing for thousands of years. It's been used in Roman cultures, used in the Greek culture, and it's used around the world. Certainly it was used for its prized. It's supposed to help with memory, at least that's what they thought in the old days. And you know what? Scientists today are saying rosemary may be good for your memory. So it's amazing to me that something that's been around forever that's been said is being resaid. Speaking of being resaid, let me mention that new videos will be dropping every Saturday on your favorite gardening platform. And of course, if you like our segments, we want you to hit subscribe. Get your garden center to subscribe, your civic group to subscribe. You know, Aunt Mary and Uncle Harry, get them to subscribe also. Hit the bell, and of course, if you have any comments or questions, we want you to send those to us so that we can use those in future segments. If you're living in Florida, fantastic. If you're living in Alaska, we want to hear from you as well. So, once again, we want to thank you for watching.